This is where CPS takes children and they get examined for child abuse. Basically, this is where CPS takes children so that they can lie about their children. So here's some of the stuff that's on the table. All right.
All right, guys. Have you or anybody that you know been a victim of misbehavior?
Look at that. DA Brown targets minorities. CPS steals children for dollars. So that up there says Randall Children's Clinic, Emmanuel. Nowhere on this building does it say it's Cares Northwest. And they got people up there actually watching us. We had security come out earlier and say that they'll give us water and stuff like that.
Who's donating you $5 million? Who's the $5 million donation that you're hiding for your center?
Sex abusers.
What are you doing with all of the naked photos of the children that you take in this building? You keep them on your computer so your employees can look at them. Do you know what we call those? We call them pedophiles.
Oh, look, there's a family. They should know who Cares Northwest is.
This is Cares Northwest. This is a place where you're supposed to bring your child if they're abused. The pediatricians and employees in this building are actually abusing children. Why doesn't it say Cares Northwest on this building? What are they hiding? Do you know that CPS brings children here for them to take naked photos of them so all the employees can stare at the naked photos?
Yeah, they work with the cops, they work with DHS, CPS. It clearly says it on their website, guys.
Yeah.
Look it up. You know, this was printed on your website. Sensitive evaluation. It's always in the best interest of the child.
Cares Northwest.
Working with mandated
Why is it that 88% of children are trafficked through CPS and the foster care, and you help them with this? You have a lot of explaining to do. This is not okay. This is abuse. This is not helping children. You're actually abusing them.
This is a place where if there's an
No.
Yeah, they've been with me already. Yeah, and they charge parents with what?
Yeah, they accused me of using him because he had small print in his ear.
There we go. If my daughter had a fracture,
He fell, and they accused
Thank
me
you.
of abuse sports. It's just like he's learning how to walk, and they accuse him of it.
Yep, it's disgusting. So you guys are looking to the or whatever. This is I run a nonprofit. We help parents that are helping them. So this is what you can do. And yeah, you guys are welcome to this is directly from their website. This is helping people out and they don't even allow you to do it. So they criminalize you and they don't even let you get your hands in the report. Have you ever seen a report?
No, they made us go get an X-ray.
Yeah, it's like what that's a
They asked for the identifications who made the report. She said, "Oh, I can't
Can't
do
tell
that."
you, right? Yeah,
I
it's a
pulled
secret.
I pulled the Freedom of Information Act. She tried to balk at it.
Right.
Understand that.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure she didn't say abuse. She said unidentified word.
Right.
See,
Their
when
job,
you said abuse.
right? Their job is to say abuse by any means, right? Doesn't matter what it is. It's abuse all the time. They're child abuse pediatricians. That's their job, to find abuse 100% of the time. You're their prime suspect, right? So whenever they say you actually did abuse your child, guess what? You can't even get a report of that. Only DHS, the cops, your therapist can get it, but you can't. Why is that?
It's because CSD thinks they're above the law.
Yeah.
Until somebody
They're
actually
corrupt.
craps. Yeah.
They're corrupt.
They've always
to
been
be
like that.
defunded.
Mhm.
They need to go away. There's no
Problem
reason why
is,
a regular doctor can't say that your child was abused.
Problem is, nobody's going to defund them.
That's, yeah,
Because
because
they
it's all
fund
about
it.
that money.
Yeah, they know how to get the money.
Exactly.
The state doesn't want them around. Local cops don't want them around.
Exactly.
They've found ways to find a way
Did
around
you
it.
know that in 2015 they got a $5 million anonymous donation? Who just wakes up one day, you know what? I'm gonna give Parents Northwest $5 million just cause. When have you ever woken up to a $5 million donation from anonymous?
I wish I did.
Right?
Likewise.
For a lot of
Right?
Hey, you drop $5,000 on me, or $5
Exactly.
mil, I could do a lot.
Exactly.
Right? I could do a lot with that kind of money.
No
dude.
problem.
All right, JD.
Exactly. So I'm glad that I know.
I'm
that
glad
they're
to see that.
keeping
Thank you
this
for that
safe.
5.
You know, because these doctors are very powerful.
Uh-huh.
They're very. They just do gag order on me. I can't even talk about my own face. And why is that? Because they want to hide their lives. I got my hands on that report, and it's disgusting. I bet if you saw your report, you would be. Do it. I'm telling you. You
I
will
mean, if
see
I
their
have
lives.
full Freedom of Information, legally, they have to release it.
Yep, do it. I'm telling you, do it. Because, and there's a, I think you've got that paper that says basically they won't even but if you have any kind of, that's at least have
Except it would take a subpoena to sustain the information, but they'd still hold it down.
what do they have to hide? Why
Exactly.
can't we as parents get access to our child's information?
Yeah, CSD is supposed to be out there to protect the children.
Right?
Well, in order for them to protect the children, they need to actually stop trying to cause the problems.
Exactly. They forget their job is to safely reunify families. It's not to
They-
put jumps, you know, hoops.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they do psychological damage and they don't care.
They do.
It's
Yeah,
all-
exactly.
Like I said, it's all
Exactly
about
right.
the
Like I know
actions.
my next door neighbor, her son was taken out of work custody about a year ago, and now he's struggling to try to get
That
back
is really sad.
over false accusations as well.
Yeah, and they just walk away, right? Not even a slap on the wrist. Oh, they don't even apologize to you.
They don't know they have to.
Mhm.
The best one.
Years.
Yeah. Gotta have it within grabbing range. You know, it's funny. When I go into like stores, I put it in my pocket and I wait for them to say something. A lot of times they don't even say anything.
Got that right.
Well, there's on Facebook that's
All right, you guys. JD donated $5. All right. Yeah, you guys. This is a real sad situation. This is a lady right here that her child was fell and broke a bone. I believe it was a femur, and they said that the father broke the bone. What they also did was when the child was in foster care, the child slid down a slide and broke another bone, and they found that it was a bone disease. But they will not drop the charges against her husband, the child's dad, and they're continually saying that it was child abuse, not an accident. My question for you guys, maybe someone can answer it, is why is they charge the dad for a broken bone, but they don't charge the foster kid or foster parents for their broken bone?
You're deleting these backgrounds of these child sex offenders so you can place children with them and continue the sex abuse.
So, Bree, I got a question for you. Her husband, right, is being charged with breaking the child's bones. Child abuse through breaking his.
He just got out of surgery for cancer on his foot, and they
Right.
took a big chunk of his foot out. And this was a couple months later when he started able to be walking again. And she was at work, and he was coming down the stairs, and his foot gave out, and he fell. And he protected her well enough.
Okay.
But you know, first thing he did was call Adriana, and Adriana said, "I'll meet you at the ER and make sure she's okay." And what every good parent would do.
Right.
When your conscience is clear, and the most important thing is the child, that's what you do.
So the child was also injured in CPS custody, wasn't?
Correct. So the child has actually been injured more times out of their care than actually in their care. There's only one time.
Yeah.
So what's going on here is when she's at daycare or when she was in custody of CPS and had these fractures and continued to have them, they're not pursuing any kind of answers from the daycare or the CPS. It's solely being targeted. So what we have here is a father who had foot surgery and had part of his foot removed from cancer and was able to start walking again, and simply just fell.
Okay, so and my understanding is the father is Hispanic, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay, and my question for you is, why are they not charging the foster parents for child abuse when the foster parents has had injuries to the kids too?
And so is daycare.
And daycare.
Yeah, so we had a simple incident where the child was just sliding down a slide, and it was enough to completely fracture her femur bone. So not all of that was disregarded. Nothing went into question about any of that. So like I said again, the child has what we call brittle bone disease, and has had more fractures outside. That's the only one I'm aware of in the home, outside of the home with other people, than actually an accidental fall with the father.
Huh. That's a shame right there that they would charge the father, but the father's Hispanic and CPS is involved in child trafficking, so I have full understanding why they would do something like that.
Well, what's really disturbing is that if you look at the picture, if this father was actually a threat to society, if he was actually abusive, if he was actually a bad human being, there would be a case where they'd be prosecuting this person, there'd be a trial, we would want to find out just like that. But this has been going on over 3 years. He's still, in our society, living and working.
Right.
Clearly he's not a threat to anybody. So District Attorney Allison Brown and Kevin Barton of Washington County are simply only interested in ripping families apart, especially minorities and low-income families.
Okay, my understanding there's a gag order. Can you tell me about this gag order?
Yes, so there's a gag order on this family, and the mother's been speaking out about it pretty vocally about their innocence for years now. And as of yesterday, a gag order was placed on this family where she is not allowed to speak to anyone ever again via any kind of technology or person about this case, which is public records. So, you can get these records yourself in public, like I said. These are not confidential records. So she had put a gag order on her for records.
So basically, anyone can get a copy of these records.
Right.
And the courts put a gag order.
Right.
And the gag orders in the state of Oregon is supposed to be for crimes of sex victims, so that they can protect the sex victims.
Right.
Okay. They generally don't put that information in court records, but yet they got all these records that's open to the public for
Right.
on the thing, and they throw a gag order on her.
Right. Yeah, I have questions, for these two district attorneys. You can't say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
If someone was really, really a threat to our society, then you would do something about it. You're not doing anything about it. All you're doing is tearing this family apart. And we have a man that we don't know, a father, how much longer he has to live. And they're taking a lot of pride and joy in doing this.
Okay. I personally have a belief that we should go back to the DA's home
I do too.
and have a protest out there.
I think so as well. I don't think she quite got the message that we're not staying quiet.
Right.
Right. Thank you to the Observer. The articles that they're writing that shows all the evidentiary support of innocence towards this family. Thank you to everybody who shares this story and will continue to share this story, because we won't be silenced. So that's why we're out here today in front of CARES Northwest, but you wouldn't know that it was CARES Northwest because it doesn't actually say that on the building, because they hide, just like they hide all their documents and everything that they do to our children.
Right.
So this is not the place to take your child if they're actually abused. This is the place you take your child to be abused.
Yeah. So you said they take naked pictures of the kids here?
They do. So one of the requirements is that when a child is brought in here, that they strip all their clothing off and they take pictures of all their genitalia. And those pictures are kept into a system where all the employees here can view them. Now, my concern is, if a child was sexually molested or raped, I can see if a pediatrician or a doctor needs some hardcore evidence to prove that. But when a child comes to this center because they have a bruise on their knee, and yes, children are turned in here for having a bruise on their knee, and no sexual abuse is ever mentioned of, why are you making children strip, taking clothes off, and taking pictures of their genitalia? That makes absolutely no sense to me.
That makes no sense to me at all.
So that tells me that we have a building full of pedophiles that are staring at naked pictures of children for their benefit. That's really gross and disgusting.
It is
Something
disgusting.
that you really want to think about.
It is disgusting.
Yeah.
So you definitely don't want to take your children to this place. It's Randall's Children's Clinic, Emmanuel, and it's at 2800 North Vancouver. Yeah. But yeah, you can see how disgusting this place is. And the thing
Were
is,
you aware that this is CARES Northwest?
and the thing is,
45% of children that come here for a child abuse assessment are diagnosed as abused. Think about that, people. You bring your child because CPS makes you bring your child. You have a 50% chance of being called an abuser and potentially getting criminal charges.
now that is really a shame right
That
there.
is the truth. It's on the website, caresnorthwest.org. Look it up. They're not hiding the truth. It's right underneath your nose. Just look it up. On their history and philosophy, they claim that they work with mandated investigative agencies, law enforcement, and CPS, Child Protective Services. How many of you trust CPS with your children?
Hell no.
How many of you really think that CPS does more good than harm? 44% above national average removals in Oregon. That's disgusting. Why? Why is everybody outraged about this?
Did you know that according to CPS, having 4+ kids, receiving government assistance, and not having any support or extended family puts you at risk of being a child abuser? Disgusting.
How you doing today?
And so,
Did you know that CPS removed this case from your classroom and not anyone else's? I was the principal of school when he taught me to talk to this. Did you know that if your child is depressed and goes to the psychiatrist, they can accuse you of abusing your child? Did you know that your child can be interviewed alone at school without your consent? There's Northwest right here, where they abuse children. Don't forget that.
Hey, Bree. Look at how many views.
2800 North Vancouver.
Where does it say?
Emmanuel Professional Building is what it claims to be.
5 thumbs up and
Here's
$5
Northwest
donation.
Oh, wow. I've never done that before.
Huh.
The live. I don't really quite know how it works.
You got a YouTube? You got a YouTube channel?
No.
Oh, you don't?
I'm on his YouTube channel. I mean, as far as like, I'm registered to get his updates and stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny, I'll get a little notification on my phone that he's uploaded something and I can open it.
Did you know that in 2005, Pierce Northwest received a $5 million gift from Anonymous?
Why?
Holy something doesn't give you $5 million. And where did that money go?
It was
Probably a
it was
sister
it was an anonymous
doesn't
donation,
make
probably not
children.
from anonymous.
Right?
Let's go wake up today and give them $5 million.
But I don't want them to know who I am.
Yeah.
I don't want to take any credit for that. Oh, yeah.
Pierce Northwest is in this building. The top nutrition. You gotta give it to you, even if it's scared to bring it in here. You have a 45% chance of being able to child abuser.
What else should we call on? I want to talk about this. You're like, I want to talk about her for a quick second.
You work for CARES, I feel sorry for you. I don't know how you sleep at night. It's gag orders on innocent people, but they won't speak their truth. That's disgusting. You don't give access to the reports where you claim that parents are abusive, and then you use it against them.
Huh?
How do you do that? How is this
It's about her child was her husband is being charged with child abuse, and later on it found out that that the child had a bone disease, a brittle bone disease.
Oh.
And so they won't drop the charges even though she's gotten professional.
What is the reason that they would gag someone for spreading their truth?
And then they went and she was protesting, so they filed a gag
The
order
truth is already
against her.
out.
Oh my God.
It's out. Help reunite Bruce's family. Look it up.
Wow.
It's already
That's too
out,
bad.
people.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
We're out here protesting.
Okay.
You bring your child here, you have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser.
Huh.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, my youngest is 30, so I'm past all that, but I'm
hope
feeling
that, I
you.
hope that if they have children, they never have to bring them here.
Right.
It's
Okay.
terrifying.
Yeah.
It's truly terrifying.
I'm just sorry to hear that.
CARES Northwest claims that they want to end child abuse. That's what they claim that their philosophy is.
That's where they make their money. They don't want to end it.
That's where the money comes from. $5 million gift from Anonymous. Who does that? This is CARES Northwest. Funny, it doesn't say it anywhere on the building though. Kind of interesting. CARES Northwest, you bring your child in for a child abuse assessment, you have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser. That's neglect, which is subjective. That's physical abuse. Could be a bruise on your baby's bottom. Could be a broken bone because the baby has brittle bone disease. It could be that you yelled at your child and you were angry. Now you're an abuser. Dr. Grigsby, I have questions. I want to know when you approach parents why you don't tell them that you work for CARES Northwest. Dr. Grigsby, I want to know why you target babies, infants, small children, nonverbal children, take them into the back of your room and actually abuse them and then blame it on the parents. Dr. Grigsby, you have a lot of explaining to do. We have questions. We want answers. Dr. Grigsby of CARES Northwest is actually abusing our children behind closed doors. CARES Northwest, doesn't say it on the building. CPS makes you bring your kids here if they think you've abused them. You have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser.
Slow down, right?
Yep. How you doing?
Great, how are you guys?
All right. You work here?
I do.
You do?
Yeah. Not in CARES, but I do work here.
Not in CARES?
No. I work at the children's clinic.
This is CARES Northwest, but it doesn't say it on the building. I wonder why. Why is it that it has to be hidden from the public? You bring your child because CPS makes you bring your child, and you have a 45% chance of walking out of this building being labeled a child abuser. They don't need any proof, they don't need any evidence. In fact, they won't even show you the so-called evidence that they have against you. And they can remove your child from your custody and criminally charge you for it. And you still won't have access to this said report that proves, quote unquote, that you are an abuser. Look it up on caresnorthwest.org. It even says it on their website. They only allow their personnel to have access to this report.
Right on the website.
Those include
Yeah, she said that she works with the children's, but she doesn't work for CARES Northwest.
Right. So the children's Randall Children's Hospital is in here.
Right.
But the parent is
But I
not
mean-
allowed.
They work together.
Of course they work together.
Mhm.
You don't have a children's hospital inside of
They work with
CARES
OHSU.
Northwest.
They work with Providence. They work with Kaiser Permanente.
They're owned by Legacy.
They work with Legacy Emmanuel. And it is mandatorily, you have to bring your child to CARES if any of these hospitals that I just mentioned think that you've abused your child. There is no way around it. Kaiser Permanente works with them, Providence, OHSU, Legacy, your primary care physician, your therapist. CARES Northwest, I really want to know why every time I call and I bring up any caseworker that works for CPS, not only do you know them personally, but you know every branch that they work at as well. working side by side, a little too close, don't you think? CARES Northwest, helping Oregon CPS traffic our children. CARES Northwest, they employ child abuse pediatricians who claim to be experts in child abuse. All it takes is a 2-year fellowship, self-proclaimed hero. That's all it takes. They say you've abused your child and that's all it takes, folks. One allegation of abuse by a child abuse pediatrician. They're here in this building. Just waiting on their next victim.
Where's Christy? Where? Do we have tape?
I don't.
Something I always forget.
And for all you guys who was curious, yeah, my car was totaled. And it was professionally fixed up. So
Where's everybody at?
I don't know.
Oh, surprise, surprise, right?
Christy was really hot and stuff. I mean, she's like, it's still on for tomorrow. She lives in my phone.
Yeah, so I think it's good.
I can.
This is CARES Northwest. But it doesn't say it on their building. They work with CPS to take people's kids, innocent people's kids. They work hand in hand with law enforcement, it says it on their website. CARES Northwest. According to CPS, if you're a single mom, that puts you at risk of being abusive. According to CPS, if you have a medically fragile child, you're also at risk of being abusive. According to CPS, having a low infant birth weight or any sort of domestic violence puts you at risk of being an abusive parent. Per Oregon Carley's law, the definition of a suspicious injury includes but is not limited to burns or scalds, bruising, fracture of any bone in any child under the age of 3, a dislocation. So you present your child to the hospital with any of those, and you're automatically flagged as an abuser. They bring a child abuse pediatrician from CARES Northwest in to confirm that abuse, and they can criminally charge you for that without any actual proof or evidence. It happened to me, it can happen to you. CARES Northwest has helped CPS place founded sex abusers get access to the children. They place these children in the care of founded sex abusers. We call those pedophiles. How can they let that happen? This is CARES Northwest. If you have kids, you should really be concerned. You have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser if you come into CARES Northwest. It's on their website, caresnorthwest.org. Northwest has been known to place children in homes of founded sex abusers. That means they have enough evidence from a child from their mouth saying that a said person has abused them, and they did nothing about it, instead placed these children in the founded sex abusers' homes.
Hey, Dylan.
This is Cares Northwest. 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser at Cares Northwest. It's on their website, look it up, caresnorthwest.org. They're not hiding it from us. 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser. It's there. You come in for a child abuse assessment because CPS made you come in. 45% chance of you leaving labeled a child abuser. Bruise on your baby's bottom, that's abuse. Child has brittle bone disease, that's abuse. Your child is depressed, that's abuse. Cares Northwest. This is Cares Northwest, but it doesn't say it on their building. They received a $5 million gift from Anonymous in 2015. Who accepted this gift, $5 million? According to CPS, if you have a medically fragile child, it makes you at risk of being abusive. If you're a single mom, you're at risk of being abusive. If you are low income, you're at risk of being abusive. Neglect is effective. It's all at the discretion of the caseworker. They work hand in hand with these child abuse pediatricians to label you an abuser.
Good.
Tunnel.
Oh, really?
Oh, there's Matthew.
All right.
Children are and can be removed without any due process. Oregon removes 44% above national average. Where is the outrage? 44% above national average removal of children. They get help from these child abuse pediatricians at Cares Northwest, OHSU. They're all in it together.
Aim that thing at those doors.
This is Cares Northwest, people. Doesn't say it on their buildings. They help pediatric children.
So this is their doors right here.
They're a so-called child abuse center. They help CPS take people's kids and label them abusers. You have a 45% chance of being labeled an abuser.
Randall Children's Clinic, Emmanuel. There's their phone number. So here's someone coming across with a vest. I think he's security.
This is Cares Northwest. Doesn't say it on their building.
Hand here? Where do you want to fasten this? You can't fasten it to anything. You can break it over chairs.
Well,
He's got duct tape. That's why we need you at all times.
He has tape is what I said.
I have blue tape normally, but today I only have duct tape.
Sorry. We gotta find a way. The thing is that there's so many signs. But if we could just take one sign and have some sort of like, build something to hang it from, like collapse it and put it back up, so there's just one big one somewhere. Come on now,
yeah, CPS uses this to medically say that children are abused so that they can take them. We have security actually inside the door, right there.
Okay.
Alright. Put that right here. Okay, so I'm just giving you my budget schedule.
Okay.
It's $800 for bus sign.
Okay.
It's $1,300 for 100,000 sheets of legal-sized paper
Okay.
that will make 10,000 of those booklets.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And it costs $1,800 for ink in my Pressmans, but they come out to about 30 cents a piece instead of $1.10. So that's the difference. Then I'm doing a line down in Springfield.
They got two security right inside the door.
Hi, I'm trying to get a hold of Dr. McEnroe.
Turn hope into tragedy. I gotta get a picture of it.
Yeah, I have an appointment with her. It's for my son.
Mm-hmm.
This is CARES Northwest, but it doesn't
I like
say it
your
on
shirt.
their building. Where CPS makes you bring your child to be accused you of abuse, and you have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser without any actual proof. CARES Northwest.
Hi, Dr. McEnroe.
I'm getting pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Ain't my first rodeo. You know, I like was driving here today thinking, how many of these have I done now? I can't even count.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you some extra tape.
Okay.
All right.
Extra tape. And so you let me know what things we can do strategically. What things we can do strategically to bring other demonstrations, get more demonstrations going on, to pull more people into realizing they can make a difference. We have the right to do something. If we could just get 20% of all the parents out in the streets regularly for this piece, it would create doubt in people's mind about what's going on, and that's a big thing for all this. Where's that at?
The hunt mob starts in Pioneer Square. It's worldwide.
Yeah, we need to get an Oregon Save Our Children so that people know how specific it is. Okay, so there's that gonna work for you?
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, so that's what I'm working on next is
I'm gonna move my.
my favorite. 100. State that they do their best bid so far. All right.
No, what they'll do. Little cold cover. Yeah. So. Uh oh.
Keep buying them for everything and then not the big black ones that
So second camera getting moved.
Of course he does.
Hey, all right. All right, how you doing? I love your dogs.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, killer.
Okay, I'll look into that. They're the reason why I told you you're not.
Their color is fantastic too. And a lot of versions of that. It's Billie Holiday right before the stormy weather on the EM Bridge. You don't play now, and I'm going to go back to 1972. And you said
They will say, well, you can't protect your child, so what they can do.
if a woman is being abused by a man, they will be from
Well, they kick them out in the street, or just walk home all the time, break their heart. So my wife is Southeast Asian, walk her always something my own thing. So they have 5 black kids, and when we ask, do you know how much money one kid generates in foster care for a year? About $100,000. Well, they have all kinds of needs. They stick on like barcodes, like, oh, this is a special need, so that's $6,000 for this and $2,000 for that.
I
We
have
need
a
driver,
friend that was
and we need a supervisor, and we need a this and we need a that. Well, it all adds up to about $100,000 a year for one child. So if you're on, let's say you're on food stamps and you're on Oregon Health Plan, and you have 5 kids, you might get $1,000 food, $1,000 TANF, right? So that's like $2,000 cash flow. But if they take your 5 kids, that's $500,000 cash flow for just the people that are saying, well, I'm account for it.
Are you staying around? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Get alive so they can make their money off. They can't make money off their kids. So kid alive and fed, and then they get abused.
There's a lot of us.
7,400
There's a lot of
kids in
us.
foster
There's
care.
too many of us. That's the problem.
Here you go. Hey,
Okay, well, thanks for making me aware, because I was wondering,
You too, my dear. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate it. My ass.
Huh?
My ass.
Well, he said get closer so I could get a picture, so I did. I just didn't bother telling you. So we had a few people that couldn't show up today, huh?
Christy's on her way.
Okay. What about Jessica?
She can't come. She can do Sundays.
Uh-huh.
Did you hear the BS that happened to her?
Huh. What happened to her?
Her husband called TPS on her.
Oh, really?
And her husband lives in a tent. He's homeless.
That's messed up. Of course.
Do you know how to
Yeah.
back a little bit?
Okay.
Over here, taking this way.
All right. In her car?
Is she on the phone?
Yeah. Ready?
Who hasn't left yet?
All right, I got 3 of them for you.
Might have my license plate in it. Might not.
It's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
Let me hold it a little bit different. Okay. Let me,
Okay, I got 3 of them.
got a good one?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll give it to her.
All right.
Okay,
I think it still has your license plate in it.
it might.
Perfect. Huh? Okay, step away for a smoke break. I don't know. How you doing today? All right. How you doing? How you doing? My question is, if they put those on their computer like that, what stops their computer from being hacked and other people getting that information?
Thank you. Thousands of naked pictures of children on there.
Oh yeah.
Take the banner into your possession and for full sort of bank again, Vancouver.
Yes.
And if I need it, I can get it from you. I can just need it because you're like radically involved in another one. 5 minutes.
Yes, I will. Of course I will.
How you doing? You work for CARES Northwest? No. No?
Is anybody else coming?
Chrissy's on her way.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go to McDonald's.
Okay.
Can you tell people more about CARES?
Yes.
What that lady was terrified.
She was so open to everything. I had no idea what this place was.
Like petrified.
She was really nice.
That's like from hearing about this criminal organization.
Such a smart.
Awesome. We got a little closer.
How you doing today?
This is CARES Northwest, but it doesn't say it on their building. They help CPS take children. You bring your child to CARES Northwest, you have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser. Think about that. Let's say they see 10 kids in one day. Half of those kids are labeled as abused.
I want to hold this in front of us. Can you angle down and get just this in our faces?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna hide our legs.
You're gonna hide your legs.
This is CARES Northwest, but it doesn't say it on the building.
You can get
You're
really,
covering my face though.
you can get really close. You can get really close, like super, super close. And
All right.
okay, I think you did a good job.
You think?
I think it's our first
Hello?
picture ever together. It's really weird.
Hello. This is CARES Northwest. You have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser. Bring your child here. They help CPS take kids. For CPS, having a medical fragile child puts you at risk of being abused. You're considered a higher risk of being an abusive parent if you are a single mother, if you have a medically, if you didn't go to college, you're at a higher risk of being an abusive parent, according to CPS.
With all the duct tape.
That's what I do.
That's what you do.
Because that's what I do.
That's what I do.
I'm just gonna talk a little more shit. No big deal.
Okay, my keys are in my car and it's right.
This is Paris Northwest. They help CPS KK. This is Cares Northwest, but it doesn't say it on the building.
Excuse me, you say if you're labeled, if you bring your child, you'll be labeled as a child abuser?
You can, yeah.
Why? What if they hurt themselves and fall down?
Then that's called abuse for them.
That's called abuse?
An accident can turn into abuse if you're talking to a child abuse pediatrician. You have a 45% chance of being labeled a
I'm
child
saying when
abuser.
they fall down and hurt themselves and the mama brings them to the hospital to get stitches,
Yeah.
you still won't be labeled?
My child has brittle bone disease. She broke a bone and they said that I was
Oh, that's why you out here protesting.
absolutely.
You
It's
got
all on
what-
their website. Let me show you. It's all on their website, right? They work with law enforcement and CPS, right? And they keep this here.
Let me give you one of my cards.
That's so good to know. Thank God.
I run a nonprofit helping families who are
My son right now, he is 16 years old. If I bring him to the
absolutely. My friend was just sounding her abuse because her teen was mad and said that he abused her. That's all it took. That's all. I promise you, that's all it took.
OHSU was part of them.
It's been a long time. They've been doing it.
OHSU, Cares Northwest, they all work together.
Okay.
Had something I had to deal with. It says there's only one person following me right now. Donation would be great because I really need donations. How you doing today?
Good, how's it going?
All right.
Okay, I'm hot.
Yeah.
That's it. I tried. I always wear a tank top underneath because I want to get hot. What else do people need to know? Oh, it stays on. I didn't know that.
Mhm. Oregon has one of the lenient indecent exposure laws I've ever seen. Under Oregon law, anyone can be topless. Yeah. Anyone can be bottomless as long as they're not out there trying to sexually entice members of the opposite sex.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
This is Cares Northwest.
Mhm.
You work with CPS and law enforcement to help diagnose child abuse without any actual CPS makes you bring your children here for a child abuse assessment.
the child abuse pediatrician diagnosed child abuse 45% of the time. They get roughly $1,500 per assessment per child. They received a $5 million gift from Anonymous in 2015. Tax-free. They operate under Legacy Emmanuel nonprofit status. They make over $3 million a year, helping CPS and law enforcement incriminate innocent parents. They work with all of the local hospitals. This is CARES Northwest. We work with CPS and law enforcement to diagnose children as being abused. 45% of children that come into CARES Northwest are diagnosed as victims of abuse without any actual evidence. They work with law enforcement, CPS, local hospitals. 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser by bringing your child into CARES Northwest. According to CPS, being a low-income person puts you at risk of being a child abuser. According to CPS, being a single mother puts you at risk of being a child abuser. According to CPS, having a medical fragile child puts you at risk of child abuse. You have any routine at you? Makes up lies, say that you hit them? CARES Northwest can help them incriminate you. CARES Northwest is in this building.
How you doing? All right. Coming out for your cigarette break?
Lunch break.
Lunch?
/cigarette.
Cool. So do you work for CARES Northwest? No?
I know, everyone is like, no, not me.
No.
This is CARES Northwest. They work with CPS and law enforcement to accuse innocent parents of child abuse. 2015, they got a $5 million gift from Anonymous. Tax-free. They operate under Legacy Emmanuel nonprofit status. Almost impossible to track their actual income. CARES Northwest.
Hey Bree, check this out.
Yes.
One of the comments, you're not gonna like it.
Fund CARES Northwest. Fund CPS.
Huh?
Why would I not like that? You're funny. What is it? Oh, you don't like this. It was a what?
Check this out. This is one of the comments. Right here.
Oh.
Defund CARES Northwest.
How you doing?
Defund CPS. Defund CARES Northwest. Defund CPS. This is where CPS, law enforcement, and self-proclaimed heroes, aka child abuse pediatricians,
claim to save lives of children. With a 45% chance of being able to child abuse by people. Apparently, according to CPS, you have a higher rate of being an abusive parent if you're a single parent, low-income family, low education family. All of those are risk factors. Here Northwest is roughly $15,000 to $30,000 per child per assessment. This all comes from our tax dollars. Defund here Northwest. Defund CPS.
You thought that was her?
Yeah.
You said she lives out here? Oh, she lives out here.
This is Paris Northwest. Doesn't say anywhere on this building that this is Paris Northwest. We want to go to rescue, Providence, Kaiser Permanente, Central Area, Siebel Hospital, the Portland metro area. They help law enforcement and CPS criminally charge innocent parents of crimes that were never committed with our tax dollars. CPS makes you bring your children into this building for a child abuse assessment, and you have a 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser. It is true. Look it up on caresnorthwest.org. It's all on their website. We work with law enforcement. We work with CPS. Many people walk into this building. They don't even know that Cares Northwest exists. That's strange. It doesn't even say Cares Northwest on this building.
No.
It only says Randall's Children's Clinic, Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. Randall's owns them. They run under their nonprofit status. This is Cares Northwest. Cares Northwest.
Hey, you work for Cares Northwest? You work for Cares Northwest? Oh, you don't?
Hey,
Hey, what's going on?
how are you?
All right, how you doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm a hot mess.
I'm glad to see you.
Adriana. Thanks for coming.
I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, you're looking good.
Thank you.
Are you doing well?
Yep,
Good.
losing weight.
Looks like it. Good job. What are you doing?
I cut down what I eat, and I also do a lot more walking and exercises and stuff. So.
Excellent.
Cares Northwest claims to be a child abuse assessment center that wants to end child abuse. But in fact, they help CPS place abused children with their abusers. Oregon CPS has
So are you one of the ones
44%
that don't get no sleep from the
above
protests?
national average full of children. Cares Northwest
Oh my
has
goodness.
a 45% chance of diagnosing your child as being abused
All right.
without any actual evidence or proof.
Stop medical kidnap. I like that. Reform CPS.
Defund Cares Northwest. Defund CPS.
Look at you. You got your arms all together.
We had one lady that came. She said that they also accused her of abusing her baby. She
had a bruise.
Hmm.
Maybe had a bruise. Oh my gosh, kids never get bruises. Right? Not if you're a Cares Northwest user. I mean, like, kids never fall down. Right? Yeah.
This is Cares Northwest in this building.
I'm gonna take a snack. Yeah.
Cares Northwest right here. We'd like to accuse people of crimes that were never committed. 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser. Cares Northwest, if you have children, you should really be concerned.
They need to see this.
Cares Northwest.
How you
Say
doing?
it anywhere on this building, but this is Cares Northwest. Funded by our tax dollars. Tax free.
Do you work for Cares Northwest? Okay.
Good answer.
Yep.
Yep, that means yep.
It's funny because everybody that he's been asking, like, no, like, no way, I don't work for them.
I should tell you something.
No, Cares, nope, not me.
This is Cares Northwest in this building. They help CPS sick children.
Good one,
Cares
Bob.
Northwest in this building. They help CPS sick kids. This is Cares Northwest in this building. They help CPS sick kids. 45% chance of being labeled a child abuser. Check out their statistics online, caresnorthwest.org. All in there. They help CPS and law enforcement incriminate parents. Cares Northwest is in this building. They help CPS sick children. Just an FYI. If you have grandbabies and you love them, make yourself familiar with Cares Northwest.
So I noticed my buddy Reggie made a comment. Love you, buddy.
Who's that?
Oh, a friend of mine that I've known for years made a comment.
Oh.
So,
This is Cares Northwest in this building.
I trust him with my life and he trusts me with his.
Cares Northwest is in this
Oh,
building
good.
and they help
Yep.
CPS sick
You
kids.
gotta have those kind of people that have your back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Unfortunately, he lives in Indiana.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I've never seen the guy in my life. Huh?
We've been helping. It's a completely different kind of scenario.
Okay.
But
Yeah, Reggie, I was talking about you. We've never seen each other. And we have total love and respect for each other and total trust.
and so she racked up all kinds of all kinds of legals. Yeah.
This is Cares Northwest in this building and they help CPS take kids from innocent families. This is Cares Northwest in this building.
What happened to
They diagnose abuse 45% of the
Chris?
time.
He can't come.
Funded by our tax dollars.
He's
They help
prohibited from
CPS
coming.
Law enforcement incriminate innocent
On what
parents.
grounds?
What grounds?
Yeah.
CPS,
What is this?
defund Cares
A
Northwest.
protest?
Right.
First
Nope.
Amendment practice? Or
Sounds great to me.
Experts.
so
They're
what
actually not experts in
are
anything.
what is the state saying?
He's on felony probation, and one of the conditions is that he cannot attend
Cares Northwest in this building.
unpermitted protests in Multnomah County.
This is Cares Northwest in this building, but it doesn't say
You
it
know
on
about
there.
Cares Northwest?
45% chance of being labeled a child abuser.
So-
in this building.
He can't come.
You know, God gave us our First Amendment. It's endowed as an inalienable right, which means we cannot be separated from it.
Right.
Hi, how are you?
I agree with you.
So they don't even have the authority to take that from him.
Uh-huh.
They don't have the authority to take what God gives someone.
Uh-huh.
Cares Northwest.
Well, it's unfortunate, but they believe they do.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
because too many people have complied.
yeah.
Okay.
One of the see, he pled guilty to participating in the riot over at Cider Riot when they hit all those conservatives with riot
Right,
charges
right.
and let Antifa go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Antifa is their paid thugs.
Right.
And anybody that tries to stop them is deemed the enemy.
Yeah. Shit, I even got cops that are saying that she'd be a terrorist.
You know why they have the police standing around in there?
Huh?
Oh, it's probably because of us.
Yeah, we're just out
We
in here.
have signs that say, stop what you're doing, and it becomes a threat.
Oh, it does?
Oh, apparently.
Yeah.
Actual evidence.
They do this all the time.
Oh,
It's a show of force. Yeah, and intimidation, but it doesn't work. I don't know why they keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just security in there. And the cops, they just get bored and leave.
in this building, but it doesn't say it on there. That's because they like to take children from innocent parents.
We don't go around and break things and attack people. So
Who's giving them $5 million gifts from Anonymous? Tax free. That must be nice. Wake up one day and have $5 million in your account from Anonymous.
Right.
well, it's an anonymous donor, probably not from Anonymous.
This is Sheriff Northwest, and they like to help CPS take children from innocent families.
Anonymous wouldn't give $5 to them. That's a government organization.
According to CPS, you're at high risk of being abusive if you're a low-income family.
You know what I'm
You're
going
a
to
single
do?
mother.
I'm going to see if they're a man of their
You're
word.
a medically fragile
Can
child.
you hold this for me real quick? I'm going to walk up to those doors.
Is this on live?
Yeah.
Oh.
According to CPS, it's more justice better than we can. According to CPS, foster care is much better than being home. Safe, loving home. According to CPS, it's okay for sound and sex abusers to be around children and not even criminally charge them. According to CPS, these child abuse pediatricians are gone.
But that way they can't scream the HIPAA. Because once you go on in the hospital or something, then they can scream and holler about it.
Scream and holler about what?
Huh?
Scream and holler about what?
HIPAA. It's the rights against private. It's a privacy thing. You can't go into a hospital and film patients.
Oh, I thought you were talking about masks or something. And I was like,
No. Security came out and told us if we wanted anything like water or something, let them know.
oh, really?
Yeah, so I walked up and asked him, hey, can I get some water? He said, he'll bring some water out.
Very well hidden, I would say. It says it's a Emmanuel Professional Office Building, is what they claim. And this is Cares Northwest. They have recording devices in every room. Paid by your tax dollars, folks. Tax free. Your tax dollars that work right here. Help CPS incriminate innocent parents.
Isn't there traffic at any single time of the day? It's ridiculous.
Well, it's because what they did with all these damn streets. I mean, this used to be a 2-lane street, like all the way down.
Yeah.
Sears Northwest is in this building.
And it used to not be 25 miles an hour.
Probably doesn't stay on the building because they don't want people to know that they help CPS and law enforcement maintain a safe and loving home. Of course, that if you're a single mother, you're at a higher risk of being an abuser. If you have a medically fragile child, you're also at risk of being an abuser. You didn't go to college, you're at a higher risk of being an abuser. And they think they can raise your kid better than you can. Maybe foster care is much better than your safe and loving home. They think that placing children with savage sex abusers is okay. But they criminalize the innocent parents.
I have stuff. What, jerky? Can I have Snickers?
Sugar-free too. Sugar-free jerky.
Yeah, it's so good.
Sugar-free
What's up
jerky.
with that? I'll try to eat. Let's see if my teeth can do it.
Sears Northwest and they help CPS take kids.
I want to try that.
Is that Jack Links? Yeah. Really good.
You want some?
Someone's up there with a bullhorn. I don't recognize her.
What? Oh. I'm looking out of the car with the bullhorn. Who is it?
I don't know. She just way down here.
Welcome to Sears Northwest.
Hi.
I'm Andrea. Oh, hi, I'm Adriana. Nice to meet you.
I like what it is. I just brought
Welcome.
some tea
Oh my
supplies.
gosh, it came with stuff.
I also have water if anybody needs stuff before. Yeah. Extra poster board.
Nice, nice. I'm gonna make this next in here, so.
She's the one that posted where I tagged you. That big event.
Oh, okay.
We like focus on like child abuse within ICE and like
Mhm.
bringing justice to them or at least awareness to them, and that's our main goal. And I work for Ricky Ruiz, who's running for state representative, and Teresa Rayford is running for Portland mayor. So like I'm just trying to bring attention to the kids and bring community together to the kids.
So, like for example, with ICE, they're like kids cages.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you probably are talking like about the awareness of that.
So yeah. Yeah, and there's like I think right now there's like 178 cases of sexual abuse against kids that like people don't know about. And it's like the sexual abuse, the separation of families, the kids in cages, a lot of things like that. It's just,
Yeah, kids in cages. Oh, Rockwood. So low.
So let me ask you this: when did the kids in cages start? When did the kids in cages start?
Start. I think that happened in like 2009, 8ish. It was implemented with Arizona, I think, with the Alien Transfer Exit Program, and that's when they would separate the families and do things like that.
So that was under Obama.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people think Obama was like a great president, and like
No. No.
It's not true.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone blames Trump for the kids in cages, and I'm like, no, that happened long before. The Supreme Court thing just came out when he just got in office, so.
I will say this though, Trump did worsen it and implemented it nationally rather than state. Does that make sense?
Okay. Want me to go to Mark?
you can ask. When I walked up there, right? They were less than nice.
That's what I'm saying. They probably
I
beat me with
I
a stick.
I go, well, remember. I go, one of the security guards asked us if we need water to let them know, right? And the security guard in there goes, oh, that was me. I'll get you guys some water.
This building, and it helps CPS take children from safe and loving homes and place them with family sex abusers. According to their own statistics, 45% of children that come into this office are founded.
So you don't mind if I interview you, do you?
Huh?
You don't mind if I interview you, do
No,
you?
go for it. Yeah. I was
Okay.
just not as prepared, so I apologize.
It's all right. I like unpreparedness. So you work with the ICE protesters too?
Yeah, that's mostly it. Yeah.
Okay, and you work with Teresa Rayford?
Not officially or anything, but we have like each other. We're in contact with each other.
Okay. And when the Kids in Cages first came out, it came out in Arizona under Obama, and to me that just seems totally wrong to even do that. Are you familiar with the Supreme Court ruling that basically sat there and said that kids cannot be put in the same institutions or lockup facilities as adults?
No.
Okay. Do you think that the children should be placed in adult correctional facilities?
No.
No?
No.
So what do you think they should do with the children when they catch them?
Well, I think that these facilities is meant to be detention centers.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't be treated like a prison at all. In fact, it's not even I don't think it's a federal offense. I think it's simply just a civil offense to be here without papers. So there's no reason to be placing them in jail-like situations or separating them.
Okay.
How many you guys are there?
1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 of us.
There you go. I got a bunch.
All right. You want one? No? Hey, you two want some water?
Oh, yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. I think you said 5.
Yeah, Bree's up and around the corner.
Well,
Thank
a couple
you.
spares if you guys get too beat up.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
And remember, we're not BLM and we're not Antifa.
Yeah, we're not beefing with you guys. We're being respectful. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we do. We protest, but we're respectful protesters.
and that's your freedom to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. So, back to what we were discussing. My understanding, CPS has a place where they put alien children. Okay, I hate using the word alien children,
the
but
proper term is undocumented.
undocumented children. What have you seen what those places are like? What are they like?
See, that's one of the biggest issues that we're like concerned with is that a lot of times they're being denied. Like I know 2 years ago, Senator Jeff Merkley was denied, and then finally after they cleaned up the place and met it to the standard, was Senator Jeff Merkley allowed? And it's like, that's not okay. Why don't you let us in the first time? The public has a right to know. So no, we don't have a clear idea because
Okay, good. So yeah, that's what. But yeah, I mean, I hear people all the time. Oh yeah, Trump was the one that instituted the kids in cages, and I'm like, no, that happened before Trump. He didn't stop it. I believe he probably had the authority to stop it, but he didn't. My opinion on border enforcement is different than a lot of people. A lot of people, you have one huge group that sits there and says, let everyone in, there shouldn't be a border. And then you have another group that says, let no one in. My thing is that if people come into this country, first of all, if they're in a dangerous situation, like they're going to be executed or whatever, we should bring them in and stuff like that. what we should also, what my belief is that if children come in with their parents, now my understanding, a lot of children are coming in with whatever adult a parent can find, including child molesters in Mexico. If the child comes in with the parents, then they should be allowed to stay and maybe even work. I mean, this country was never, when it was first founded, you had immigrants come in from all over the place. You didn't have to go through expensive border patrol and immigration paperwork and stuff like that. I mean, that stuff's expensive.
Oh yeah.
And so then each case be done individually. I think that they should not allow criminal aliens into this country. People that are convicted of murder, rape, child molesting, robbery, stuff like that. So that's what that's my thing with the border, with immigration, stuff like that. We shouldn't be the prison for every country in the world, but we shouldn't be Iron Curtain style either.
Yeah, I have. I'm gonna make an assumption. I'm admitting to that right now. I think we're on the same page. We just have different ways of implementing certain things.
Yeah.
I think, like, for example, I agree. We want rapists, child molesters, people who are trafficking. Like El Chapo is a perfect example. We don't want El Chapo here. We don't want his empire, whatever. But at the same time, you have to realize El Chapo didn't build his empire by having individuals smuggle like a backpack because it takes about 5 days to cross the border without paperwork, like illegally people call it. So El Chapo didn't build his empire that way. He built it by bribing ICE agents, and we have proof that ICE takes bribes and accepts bribes, and so they're corrupt already. They're not looking out for the actual criminals, the actual rapists, the actual trafficking, the actual drug dealers. They're targeting people, children and families, because they're easy to target, and they make a lot of money when they have people in their custody. So that's the issue we have with ICE, is they're not even protecting our borders. They're completely targeting innocent people who are coming here for a better life.
Right.
So that's why my personal opinion, and the people who follow our page, is to abolish ICE, because they're not actually helping. They're only hurting the country, and they're hurting us. You can't say pro-border security, let's enforce our security and do the ironclad wall like you were talking about, until you make the citizenship or the pathway to citizenship easy and realistic.
Right.
I know my father took us like over 11 years and not fix the citizenship process.
Another thing that I'm a firm believer in is that if you fight for this country, even this, well, okay, you fought for this country, you're an undocumented alien, we're sending you back. That's not cool. And job work and stuff like that. After a couple of years, I'm not saying 15 or 20, I'm saying 1 or 2, then you're eligible for citizenship, but not with $20,000 in bills from INS. You know, maybe 100. You know, and be able to show, hey, I have a job, and I'm being responsible. That's all that should happen. That's all that should be needed. We need people in this country, and I hate to say it, right, because I'm going to sound extremely prejudicial toward the Hispanics, but our farmers and our ranchers do not treat the workers right in this country.
Right.
If you ever been out to a farm, right, you ever see their living conditions? You know, they're horrible. They sit there and they work 8 hours a day picking fruit, and they're only making $50, and then out of the 50, they got to pay for their food, they got to pay for their lodging and stuff like that. That's ridiculous.
And a lot of them sleep in like bunk beds, like they're just like cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that officially started like around during World War II is when the U.S. started shipping in people from Mexico
Mm-hmm.
to make up for the lack of labor and things like that. They would contracts and things like that, contract immigrants here in Mexico, and they would actually spray them down with pesticides and be like, if you get sick, you can't work with us. So some people would actually die from that, and
And another thing that really pisses me off is someone that's working in this country. They could be 3 days from a paycheck, and ICE goes, "Oh, you're here illegally," and then they deport them, and they lose that money.
oh yeah. Oh my God, there's so much. That's it. What Border Patrol, like with the Alien Transfer Exit Program that started under Obama, what they would do is they would separate the families, and then they would take all of their money, put it in a card that could only be used in America, and then deport them to Mexico. So they would steal money and separate families and drop them off in an unknown place. So it's like, if anything, ICE is helping with trafficking and drug trade and things like that, because you're making them vulnerable to all these things.
Right.
So ICE is not good for the country either. Neither country. It's
Yeah. No, it's yeah, I have issues with ICE too. The way they do things and stuff. People don't realize that our ancestors came over here and just took over.
Yeah.
Basically conquered everything, and then sat there and said, we'll accept whatever comes in. And now all of a sudden we're like, well, no, we're not going to accept whatever comes in.
Yeah.
We're going to pick and choose, and only only like 5,000 or 6,000 a year are allowed to come in.
Yeah.
It's
such a small number.
And that's a worldwide number. So, it's ridiculous.
And then also to get papers, you have to be, like refugee status, for example, you have to be in a detention center for a year to see if you officially get it or not, or citizenship, you have to be here undocumented in the first place to even get your citizenship. So it's like, how do you expect people to get your citizenship and then not be here undocumented when that's one of the things you have to do to get citizenship or some way?
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah, so that's our biggest thing. I noticed you kind of made a comment about the Black Lives Matter movement. Just for full transparency, just to be completely honest with you, I support the Black Lives Matter movement. I've been helping out with a lot of their protests and stuff like that.
I don't support it, and I'll tell you why. I don't support violence. I don't like to hear people go, yeah, this is a peaceful protest, and then they jump someone over here, they throw rocks at cops, they break windows. I don't like that. To me, that's not a peaceful protest.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, yeah.
Okay. And if you allow people into your protest that's what they're gonna do, then you can't say it's a peaceful protest. Okay. Another thing is Black Lives Matter. A lot of people don't know it. The leadership is Marxist, which is communist. I'm not into communism. If you talk to people from Cuba and people that came over from Russia, they could tell you war stories, that would just make you shrivel up. On what it's like in communist countries. So I don't. That's why I don't support it.
Yeah.
I think all lives matter. Okay, which Black Lives says, it doesn't matter if it's a white, black, or Hispanic. If someone's shot dead by a cop over there for no reason, that person has family members. That person has friends. That person has people that's going to mourn for them.
But it's the same reason why I don't go to like a breast cancer awareness thing, and I'll be like, well, all cancers are dangerous.
Yeah.
Right, we agree. All cancers are dangerous. They have all taken lives. People who have died from cancer.
No, they are.
Is not any less than people who have died from breast cancer, which is bringing awareness to that.
And what Black Lives Matter doesn't bring up, and they should, and they get a lot more supporters if they did, is instead of encompassing just police violence, if they encompassed all other violence, like you got kids in Chicago, 5, 6, 7 years old that's being killed. A 4-year-old was killed. You know, and Black Lives Matter doesn't say anything about that.
Yeah.
You know, they don't condemn that.
They do. Every time I see a case
Well,
for
what are you talking about, like referring to specifically? Because they've been doing their best to try to talk about all police brutality, all police violence.
Yeah.
From what I've gone to, protests I've gone to, they always talk about police brutality in general, with an emphasis on how extra cruel they tend to be against Black lives. So,
well, they say the largest percentage is Black lives. The problem is if you actually look at U.S. history, because that's what they say, all through history it's been Black lives. If you look all the way through history, more Indians have been killed by military, by sheriffs, by governors issuing bounties on Indian scalps than percentage-wise than anyone else. Indians are treated as a lot of Indians are treated as a separate people. You know, they have constitutional rights, but their Indian reservations are independent nations. So they got tribal court and stuff like that. But that's what I look at. When the Chinese first came over, right? They were workers, and then when the work was done, instead of paying them, a lot of them got killed. You know, and so that was all through history. Different races have been treated that way.
Yeah. We've all been protesting forever. I've been doing this since I was 13, protesting for Latinx lives. And then now people are finally starting to pick up about ICE and things like that. We're finally getting numbers and events regarding ICE and abolishing ICE. So we've all been protesting. We're just finally getting recognition. And then Black Lives Matter will acknowledge that as well. Like Indigenous lives, not Indigenous Lives Matter, but that they've also been affected heavily. Like this is their land.
Yeah, well, their lives should matter.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. Is you can't forget about these people. One of the most popular chants is "stolen people on stolen land," because we acknowledge that the U.S. government has like systematically oppressed all people of color, like all.
Yeah.
I think the proper term now is BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color. They acknowledge that. I think the media is too focused on the rioters and the people who are focused on destruction and have more of a selfish agenda rather than the Black Lives Matter movement as a whole, which is, we don't like that. Like if you follow a lot of social media accounts, you'll see that we don't condemn the people doing unnecessary violence. And you'll notice like
social media, that's all over the place. Hey, look at this guy getting kicked in the head. Look at these people throwing rocks at cops and cops using pepper spray. But a lot of them like to turn their cameras away when the Antifa and Black Lives Matter are throwing stuff at the cops, and then when the cops use pepper spray and stuff, they turn their cameras toward the cops.
I mean, they only start throwing stuff after the feds or the police start doing things. Like if you'll notice, I don't remember which article it was, but the Portland police, like, look at, these are the items they threw at us, and a lot of them were like canisters that the police had shot at, or like rubber bullets that the police and feds had shot at them first. It's like they're throwing things that you're shooting at them first. They could not have thrown this item if you did not shoot it at them first.
Northwest, what are you doing with
So
all
that's
of
what
the photos
that's why I don't support Black Lives Matter. One is because it's a socialist organization, and I'm not a communist. We've had thousands of soldiers that died in Vietnam. We had thousands of soldiers that died in Korea, fighting communism. Antifa and Black Lives Matter likes calling me a fascist. I'm not a fascist. My uncle, or not my uncle, my grandpa was in World War II. My grandpa's brother died fighting the Germans. You know, they both fought the Germans. One came back, one didn't. One of my grandpa's brothers, which was really young when World War II happened, he was in Korea. He was an officer in the Korean War. So, you know, when it comes to political beliefs, I'm really cautious about that because I don't want to support something that's communist or anything that's fascist, or any kind of Nazi or Japanese or Imperial Japanese beliefs or anything like that. Imperial Japanese were really bad. Not just against prisoners, but against women and minorities that weren't Japanese. You know.
Yeah.
So that's what, you know, like I said, I don't support Black Lives Matter is because it's you ever hear James Chassie? Yeah, most people haven't. James Chassie, about 15 years ago, was a guy with severe mental illness downtown. He lived in an apartment, but they said he was homeless. 3 officers claimed he pissed on a wall and ran from him. They tackled him and beat him up. They beat him up so bad that they punctured all of his ribs, or they broke all of his ribs, punctured the lungs, punctured his spleen, and did liver damage. Instead of taking him to the hospital, they took him to the county jail. When he was in the county jail, the nurse said, "No, he's in too critical of condition. We'll call an ambulance." They go, "No, we'll take him to the hospital," and they decided they would take him out to Mount Hood, you know, in Gresham, and they took the side streets. He died on his way out. All right, you never hear anything about James Chassie, but James Chassie was white.
And that was how long ago?
About 15 years ago.
So then there should have been people protesting that.
For years there was. Keith Davis was running that. Every year on the anniversary of his death, they would do a march, and they would march all the way to where he was beat to death.
So that's exactly our point with the Black Lives Matter movement, is saying that all these other groups have been affected by police brutality, I guess, if that makes sense. If that's a good way to put it, I'm just going to say that. By the lack of government care, all these groups have been affected. Black Lives Matter is saying, well, all of these Black lives, we know that we've been affected. The government doesn't care about us. The government's been oppressing us. So we're like, okay, well, we're going to start getting organized. We're going to be out there. We're going to be doing protests. We're going to do whatever it takes to pass policies, legislation, get notification or notify the public, things like that.
Yeah.
And other groups that were like, well, this has been happening to us too. This is why we're joining you. So I think that the person who passed away and the person who's been organizing those protests, they should have been like, well, this has also been happening to us. That's why we're joining you. Black Lives Matter movement is strictly for, not strictly, but necessarily calling attention and emphasizing all the crimes and hatred and lack of government care that's been happening to Black lives. And other groups, BIPOC groups or whatever, are saying we've experienced this as well. This is why we support you, your movement. This is why we're joining you. So I feel like if you want to say all lives matter, then you should be joining Black Lives, because, you know, I don't know if you've heard this before, but Black Lives Matter, or all lives matter cannot matter until Black lives do.
Oh my God.
You know,
I know, I kind of went on a little rant.
that goes against all lives matter, because all lives is all lives. White, black, green, purple, doesn't matter. All lives is all lives. And the best way to deal with the police, now a lot of people say defund them. I think we should put more money into them. And I'll tell you why. Okay, you defund them, one of the main things that they take out is training. They need more training. Okay, in England, a lot of the officers don't carry guns, right? With those collapsible aspatons that they got and shields. If someone has a machete or a sword or whatever, they'll get 4 officers with the shields and basically block the guy in to where he can't get out, and then they'll use their aspatons to disarm the guy. Here they shoot him.
Right. So I think instead of taking away from funding for training, maybe why don't we take away funding for guns? Why does it have to be training? Why can't it be guns when we're talking about defunding?
I agree. We shouldn't pay $2 million for ammunition. We shouldn't be doing that.
It's like you giving me $5 and be like, well, I'm buying crack with it now. You gave me the $5.
Yeah.
You leave me no choice. Why don't
Right.
I just not buy it? Or
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the money goes into, well, under law they got to spend what they go into. So if they go, well, we're going to spend. City council goes, we want you to spend $20 million on cars. Right? They can't sit there and say, well, we got enough cars, we want ammunition, because that's not what the money was dedicated for. That's called police accountability. That's what I do. I'm a cop watcher. I go around from the police, and they're starting it's been so. I've did this so many years that they get to know me, and they're starting to dread me now because they're taking their names off the uniforms and they're
at the badge numbers.
Yeah, and they're encrypting their radio and stuff. And I continually ask them, why are they doing that? And they say, well, because we don't want people protesting at our house, or we don't want people listening to the radio and stuff like that. And I go, well, is that transparency? And then they get in their cars and drive away. You know.
They'll like bash through the phone or whatever out of somebody's hand. It's like, why?
One time I was.
If you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care?
I had a cop hit my camera. Right? It costed the city $5,000.
Nobody even told you. That's just rude.
Because I filed a tort claim. I filed a lawsuit in federal court, right? And I asked the federal court to appoint me a lawyer, so they appointed me a lawyer. So the city, and there's minimal damage done to my camera, but there was little lens damage, but minimal. But I got $5,000 out of that. Carrie Medina, which founded Film the Police in Portland, she got a chunk of money, but she donated it all to the ACLU. So, yeah, if they knock your camera out, they break your camera or something like that, you can turn around and sue them for money. You don't have to sue them for just the damages. You can sit there and say, hey, no, I want monetary payments and stuff for that. What I would like to see is them to lift the thing on us not being able to sue police officers in the individual capacity. You know, you can't sue a police officer in his individual capacity. You have to sue the city, and then the city goes, well, it's not our fault, so we're not liable. You know, and then you got to get a lawyer, and the lawyer and then they're like, oh, okay, you know. But yeah, it's a sad situation all the way around. But I support the ICE protests. My son doesn't, and my son's half white, half Mexican. His mom's from Mexico. He went down to one of the ICE protests, and they told him that he doesn't know what it's like to have someone deported, and that he was my son, so he's a fascist and get out of here before we beat his ass. And there was like 3 other Hispanic people down there that received the same treatment.
Right?
You know.
Yeah, see that. For example, that never happens.
And his sister was deported. When I was in prison, his sister was deported. So even in prison, I managed to stop my son's mom from being deported. But I couldn't stop his sister.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It's one of the reasons why we're out there is because it's not right what's going on.
No. So he's like, well, you know, you got these people that are white that don't have any idea what it's like to lose someone to ICE, and you're turning around telling someone that's lost someone to ICE that they don't know what it's like to lose someone to ICE.
Yeah, I know, but also, I mean, you say you support the ICE protests and things like that, but you have to understand that I believe 40% of people who are in custody right now are black, and black immigrants who are in custody by ICE right now are being treated more unfairly. So that is a Black Lives Matter issue.
I don't
as well.
think-
So what's going on with ICE
Yeah.
is also a Black Lives Matter issue. So you can't say you don't support the Black Lives Matter movement and then you do support ICE.
I support the ICE movement, but I don't support. Like I said, there's a political agenda with Black Lives Matter.
Not necessarily. It's just
Oh, there is.
Stop killing BIPOC people unfairly and stop targeting them.
Right. If
Stop-
that
the
if that was
government
if that
Stop
was
doing that.
if that was it, and they were peaceful protesters, yeah, I would support them 100%.
There are peaceful protests.
Well, there are some.
No,
but-
majority of them are peaceful. The media
Okay.
is only focusing on the minority that is
Right.
against it.
Okay. The minority is what destroys the whole movement. When I turn on TV in the morning to see what the protests were like last night, Multnomah County, they started a fire in the Multnomah County building where they deal with COVID and personal safety devices. That has nothing to do with law enforcement.
So, are you anti-gun as well then?
Huh?
Are you anti-gun?
No.
No.
I'm a Second Amendment person all the way.
Okay, okay.
We-
Well, school shootings are a very minority deal. You don't blame all gun owners then.
No.
So why is this any different? You're blaming the minority and using the minority as a representative for the majority.
Because you have a movement, right? If say the NRA turned around and said we are now supporting all people that go into schools and shoot up schools, I would sit there and say no, NRA is not cool. That's not right. That's not fair. Get rid of them. The thing is that these BLM protests, the leadership don't go to Antifa. They don't go to the people that are trying to cause the problems and say, hey, check this out. This is a peaceful protest. Leave. They don't do it.
Because you can't police. Well, they have though, is the thing.
But they don't.
But they have.
Huh?
I think she's maybe wondering about Pierce Northwest.
But they don't. They go over to the Union Hall and try to burn the Union Hall. They go over to
But those are rogue people.
that's riding right in the middle of the protesters. Now BLM, their leadership, and they got enough people in their leadership to tell those people, no, you're violent, you guys got to leave.
Are you talking about Black Lives Matter movement in general, like national or in Portland? Because I'm discussing Portland specifically.
That's what I'm discussing is
Because
Portland.
Portland is what I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
discussing.
Can't speak on national because I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm talking about is Portland.
Right, so there's not a lot of leadership going on right now in Portland because it's all community-based events. It's all community-based, so there's no specific... Because we were to start policing people, then we're the same thing as the police and the same things we're trying to
Right.
protest against. So there's not a lot of specific leadership. You cannot point that or blame it on the whole movement because of a couple of rogue people. Because there's no one policing it right now because this is just the community.
Well, that's the problem. There's no one policing it. That's exactly the problem. If you watch these conservative rallies, which the liberals like to call them fascists and stuff like that, they police they police the stuff. If you're going in there to beat up some Antifa guy, they'll tell you no, you can't do anything until they attack you.
Well, that's not true because I was over at the waterfront and there was Trump rally, whatever. I was just there. I was looking at the water. I was even taking pictures of the water. They started coming up to me. One of them got in my face, started coughing on me, and I said,
For what?
Because I was just there. Because I had my People vs. ICE button on. And they just came up to me like, do you need a mask? Like, no, you don't need a mask. And I'm like, can you please stay 6 feet apart? And they ignored me, and then they just got in my face, and then they were grown and yelling at me. There was no one policing them, so now I get to see them, all of them. According to your logic, I get to see them all of them.
And that was wrong. My understanding, that was a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago, when Skylar shot at some Antifa people, right?
Oh, I wasn't even talking about that one, but that too. That's another example, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Antifa and Black Lives Matter attacked the flag waving protesters.
So if it's coming from both sides, why do we have to blame each other specifically? Why can't we just say, well, we don't condemn all the violent people, we're trying to have our own agenda and our own peaceful.
Well, I think violent people on both sides should be condemned.
Okay.
Okay, you see the protests here, right? You see anyone breaking these windows? You see anyone attacking these security guards? You see anyone attacking people on the street? You know, so you can't have a protest without it being violent. Okay, when you get a bunch of protesters over at North Precinct, right? And I come out and put my camera up and I get pepper sprayed by Antifa. You know, what am I supposed to think? Am I supposed to, oh yeah, these guys are great people?
Well, and vice versa with me. So I'm supposed to think,
Yeah.
oh, people, and they were talking about how they were there for God, and I'm a Christian myself. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't believe you're here for Christ or whatever. If you're getting in somebody's face, I'm scrawny as hell. Like, why are you
Right.
getting in my face? Why are you trying to be aggressive and dominate me
Mhm.
when I'm just here?
Yeah,
So it goes both ways.
right.
And then, yeah, you're right. Like a lot of them are making threats that they're gonna go to Portland and start shooting at people. My other protest, which was very peaceful, we're in the middle of a music act. We were having like a performer. It was all community-based. People were eating watermelon.
Right.
And we had conservatives and people start throwing fireworks at us and like do like a mini drive-by or what. I don't know what they were trying to do. They threw fireworks at us and they just drove off and like were trying to scare
Right.
us. That's an act of violence.
Yeah, but that's not a conservative protest. That's just people being an ass. And it could be conservatives or it could be people that just don't like liberals.
So then Antifa is the same way. You don't know specifically if it's Antifa. It could just be people who are being assholes.
When they carry Antifa flags, you know, Antifa banners and stuff. This one had an Antifa banner.
And then the person who attacked me had the "Make America Great"
Yeah.
again hat.
Okay. Okay.
So we know.
I don't know who that is. If you can let me know who that is.
Well, I don't know who it is because I tried to I ran away as soon as I
Yeah.
could.
Okay.
That dude's
If you see the person, you see me, let me know. Because I'm a conservative, right? I'll go have a talk with the person. All right? Because the conservatives are continuously told no violence unless you're attacked. Okay? The conservatives are supposed to be for the Constitution, which means that you have a right to sit out here and protest and not be harassed, not be annoyed, not nothing. And so if people are going around saying, well, hey, you don't have a right to protest or we're going to disrupt your protest, they're violating their own beliefs.
Right.
So those need to be brought out. Now you got to remember, you have neo-Nazis that try to infiltrate the conservatives. You might have someone that's a neo-Nazi wear a Make America Great hat and drive down the street and throw an M80 out. Okay, that's not a conservative, that's a Nazi. Okay, the conservatives don't allow Nazis in their group. If they find them, they get rid of them. I've stumbled into a few and they got rid of them.
We have yet to see that, which is why me personally, again, I can't say statistically.
Okay.
Me personally, I haven't seen that, so I cannot agree with that.
The one that was up at that park on 82nd had a fanny pack with the Iron Eagle on it, with the swastika, right? I brought up some conservatives, and they're like, well, no, I go, no, that is a Nazi emblem, and I showed Joey Gibson, and the dude was told to leave.
That's great. We support that. We don't want Nazism or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Whatever term. We don't want them here. We don't want people condoning violence, things like that. But that's not enough, because we still see that a majority of them are still doing hate and doing death threats to us. The whole reason I wasn't in Portland for the past week is because there was a couple gentlemen who have been threatening that they're going to shoot up Portland. So the only reason I'm here today is because of Adriana Cruz and because I also do food deliveries for the community.
Do you know
how
how pissed I would be if a conservative went by and shot up a bunch of protesters? You have no idea. My family's fought for this country.
Right.
Right? I lost relatives fighting for this country, fighting for your right to be able to sit out here and protest. What that conservative's doing is he's spitting in all those soldiers that died's faces.
Yeah.
You'd see a lot of mad conservatives. Yeah, I mean, people talk shit all the time. We have a cop watcher named Chris. Me and Chris are buddies. Antifa hates him. I'm sure you've heard of Chris Ponte.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I know so many names. I know if
Yeah.
I pull them off, though. I
Antifa hates him. They're always making threats at him. You know, they're calling his probation officer because he's not supposed to be in protests in Multnomah County. So he'll go to Seaside and do a protest over there and see a street that looks like a street in Portland and flash the camera at it just so Antifa can call.
Oh, actually, yeah, Seaside. There was a lot of death threats there. From the only conservative people who were there were all very aggressive and came guns a-blazing for no reason.
Okay, I was there at the Seaside, right? The only violence I've seen was when I was attacked, and I was attacked by a lady. And when I tried to push her back, some guy came running up saying, "That's a lady. You don't touch her. She's a lady." And if I'm being attacked, I feel that I don't care if it's a male or a female. I'm going to push the person back. I'm not going to. I don't believe in violence, so I'm not going to do violence unless I have to. If it got to the point where I had to do violence, someone would be hurt. But I don't believe in violence. I don't believe we should be out there hurting people. We all have a right to protest, right? But we all do not have a right to harm anyone or anything like that. The problem is I see only certain videos, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of the conservative videos, but I never see any of the liberal videos, right? So I don't know who to talk to and who not to. I don't know who's doing what.
I mean, if you look at the news, it's all the news covers is all Antifa and liberals, violence or whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't show about how, well, just like I mentioned already, just like the things that they're throwing back are stuff that the feds and police have been shooting at them. That's most of the violence, a majority, if not all of the violence that's happening from their side.
Well,
They're
people are
getting
throwing
tear
stuff
gas.
people are throwing stuff and damaging the courthouse, the federal courthouse.
Yeah, like tear gas canisters.
Yeah, and you know, they're doing stuff to the Justice Center, and they're spray painting the police stations and stuff like that. North Precinct, they actually went in to where they actually passed the crime scene tape and started spray painting the police station and spray painting police cars before the riot squad showed up and moved them. You know, you can't do damage and stuff like that and then say, well, hey, look, we have a right to peacefully protest. If I wanted to set up a protest at your house and I got 10 people and we go, well, we're peacefully protesting, and I threw a rock through your window and I said, well, you can't do anything because we're peacefully protesting. You know, where does peaceful stop? That's the question.
Yeah, I get that.
My opinion, as soon as that first rock is thrown, that's where the peacefulness stops. If I lift up like I'm getting ready to throw it and I make you believe that I'm going to throw the rock, that's where it stops. When you start attacking people or making people in fear, that's when it stops.
But the police and feds are not in fear. They have full. It's my balls. Hello? Yeah, sorry. One second. Okay, thank you.
Another thing that both sides do that really pissed me off is doxing. Right? They'll go to each other's houses and protest and call up people's work and say, yeah, fire this person, they're a fascist and stuff like that.
Well, they only do that when there's like, they've been doing death threats and saying racist things.
Okay.
that I know of and that I not participated in but have been following. Like one gentleman said that he was gonna shoot up Portland and he was saying the N-word and being very racist. So then people started like they found out where he lived, his address. It's all public information too.
Yeah.
None of it's private or whatever. And then that's when they were like, okay,
Right.
let's.
And if you're gonna go to someone's house and protest, make sure it's a public official, a police officer that violates people's rights. We do that all the time. DA's houses, we do that all the time. But not other activists.
Yeah.
I had 10 Antifa when they're over at North Precinct stand outside my house after they pepper sprayed me. They didn't realize that I just went to the hospital and got cleaned up. So they stood outside my house. Well, my brother came out, seen them, went back in, grabbed his gun, walked over into the neighbor's yard. Right? There's no reason for that. There's no reason for them to stand out in front of my house. You know, I'm not racist. People that know me sit there and go, what the hell are they doing saying you're racist? You're not racist. You know? I always give prompts to my dad's doctor. He's black. That doctor saved my dad's life. And I have a lot of love for that dude. A lot of love for her. One of my ex-girlfriends, she's Hispanic. So I'm not racist, but I get branded as racist. Have you seen Antifa running around? Oh, he's racist.
Well, because if you don't agree with the protests or the things that are going on right now, and you're not racist, and you say what's going on is wrong, what are we actively doing to stop these things from happening, the wrong things, to condemn these wrong things? What are we actively doing then? Because you don't like protesting, so what do we do then? What are you specifically doing then?
I'm a cop watcher. I go around, film the police. I teach people how to file complaints against police officers. Right? Say a police officer searched your sister. I suspect you're over the age of 18, but say you had a sister that's 12, right? And a male cop searched them, and you got upset. Hey, I want to file a complaint. I would pull out the paperwork, and I would help you do that, file that complaint. I would take you downtown if you needed to. You and your sister, I would take you two downtown to City Hall and go to the park. Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
You have grandbabies that you love? Here's Northwest. Watch out. Take that off. That's not Here's Northwest. Here's Northwest. Where you get children go for calories, assessments, they play non-invasive, but they make them straight down and squat. The frog position. Check your genitalia. Alright. This is neglect, sex abuse, physical abuse, it's all whatever the child abuse pediatrician wants us to do. They don't have to use it as support factor for the protection order. A protection order. That you as a parent can't even access. You don't have a right to do that according to them, according to Oregon law.
Oh, shit. Gosh, you know.
Cares Northwest helps CPS in trusting loving homes.
How you doing today?
Based on what
They
we're
also
All right.
place kids in found and sex abuser homes. Guess they can't get it right, can they? It's not about the best interest of the child here. It's about the money.
I like this one, the big one. This one's the same one as this one, but it's bigger. So you can read it.
Just be careful.
You know what I was thinking? Like what the so many different types of events is getting like a dry erase board
I think that's what Bree does.
and having that as a sign. That way I can put whatever message I want.
Yep. To use.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what Bree does.
Otherwise, I kind of just show up with nothing because I'm like, I don't have the space to store, millions upon millions of different subjected or different subjects.
I know, because it's like so much that
Yeah.
forward.
That is painted.
This is CARES Northwest, and they work with CPS and law enforcement to take kids from safe and loving homes. Do you see CARES Northwest anywhere on this building? Nope. Why are they hiding? Why do they have to hide who they are? They help criminalize innocent parents. Already did. They don't care. They're in on it. They love it.
We're at the 2800 North Vancouver.
CARES Northwest. Look
Ca-
them up.
CARES Northwest.
They have all this information about how you can't even access your own record when you've been accused of being a child abuser.
Are you paid for this?
This is CARES Northwest in the building. According to them, statistics, I can't talk now, 45% of children that come into this office are founded with abuse. That means the child abuse pediatrician diagnosed abuse 45% of the time. No one can tell them that they're wrong. No one can prove them wrong. Their word, that what they say, that's it. That's what counts in court.
Did she give you a card to look up her stuff on
45% of children that come in here get a diagnosis of child abuse. That should really scare parents. That is really terrifying.
So who do you Who do you photograph for?
my photograph for myself,
Huh?
myself, and the
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is.
I gotta leave around 2, so I have about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No brakes.
What are you doing? I'm big up.
Next house I want to go to is an attorney's house who defends children living in homes with sex abuse. So yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Have a good day. Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Victoria. I need to go make sure. Look,
What?
I need to make sure I locked my.
Okay. Is it safe? All right.
I gotta head back
You do?
Vancouver. Yeah.
All
I
right.
gotta get my
Okay. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up. So you gonna wrap it up now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna let you guys go.